Hey guys, and welcome back to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel for another interview. I'm Connor, and joining me today is Slade Monroe to chat all about his role as Wheatie in 12 Mighty Orphans. If you enjoy this interview or the others on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. So welcome, Slade, and thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Well, thank you for having me on here.
For sure, and I guess we'll be chatting today about your film 12 Mighty Orphans, but before we get into that directly, I was wondering how your journey into acting started, and did anyone or anything in particular inspire you?
Oh, yeah. My journey into acting basically started at a studio called Catherine Sullivan's Acting Studio. And she, being Catherine Sullivan, is the person who really inspired me to continue with acting. I used to do it as a hobby when I was younger, through when I was about 15 through 18, or yeah, about 15 through 17. And it was at the end of my 18th year that I decided to push forward with it. And she kind of brought me back from a low place and gave me the confidence to carry on.
Yeah, and I suppose it's kind of then jumping forward in time by like, well, I guess a lot, with 12 Mighty Orphans. How would you describe, I guess, the premise for anyone who might be unfamiliar with it?
So 12 Mighty Orphans is an underdog story about a football team in the 1930s called the Mighty Mites. They are
Mm,
a group of orphans who are coached by a man named Rusty Russell, who turns who is largely credited with forming the spread offense, with
mm,
creating the spread offense. And so it is Rusty's journey into teaching these kids how to
right.
play football, but also how to find themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know that sometimes like the whole like casting process can be different from like project to project, but how was your experience of being cast in this in 12 Mighty Orphans?
This was a really unique experience for me
Mm,
because something happened that I had not seen before, where I was actually called in to my agency at Kim
right,
Dawson Agency by my agent Deanne Vernon. And so I'd never done that before. The casting director was at my agency, and so I thought this was a really cool and unique thing. I got my first audition in April 2019,
mm,
and when I had gotten it, I had immediately fallen in love with the script. I mean, I just got the summary, read it, and I knew exactly that this was something that not only that I wanted, but I just needed it.
mm.
And so I did my audition in April 2019, and I didn't even hear back until August of 2019. I,
Okay,
I kept looking it up. It's the only project that I've ever auditioned for where I've was consistently keeping up with it just to see if I was still in the running for casting. And
right.
so I was gearing up to go to Chapman University when I got a call saying that I got another call back for 12 Mighty Orphans. And
Mm.
so 5 days prior to me leaving for college, I did that audition. And then 2 weeks after that, I was called back to Texas again. And that would be my final audition. 2 weeks after that, I got the call that I got the part.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like, quite a journey to have gone on to get into this, get into the film. And I suppose, like, before you did the film, like, how knowledgeable were you about football or even like the 1930s as a decade? Like, did you know much about either going in?
I knew a little bit about football in the 1930s. Well, I say a little bit. I grew up in Texas, and Texas lives, eats, breathes football. It is football incarnate.
Mm,
Playing football in a way is like a rite of passage. And I did grow up playing football for about 7 years. It wasn't until I was about 16 when I ironically switched from football to theater.
right.
Crazy how
Mm,
that circle of life happened. But the 1930s has always been a decade that interested me, because I mean that was the height of the Great Depression, and
right.
that was a time where uh, where people really just had to strap down and buckle up. And the fact that anybody survived the 1930s is, I mean, it leaves me awestruck.
Mm. did they like give any kind of indication of whereabouts in the decade this was taking place? It was just kind of vaguely like somewhere in that region, because it's just at the other end of the 1930s, it's the start of World War II, which is obviously another, you know, world kind of like changing event. But I mean, do you know whereabouts it took place or
Yes,
whenabouts?
yes. This movie is based off of a book of the
Yeah,
same name, and it is a true story. And so when I had originally gotten the script, I was told that we were starting in 1938. And from that was kind of the basis for the entire filming was 1938. And there are several points in the film where the date is shown.
mm,
However, the book I believe starts in 1927 and ends in 1943, because I believe that that's the length that Rusty Russell was at the Masonic home.
right.
And yeah,
Yeah, and I suppose then kind of going more into your character, like how would you describe him and his role in the story?
I loved playing the character of Wheatie
Mm,
because when I had read the book, the first thing that I had thought about was, yes, this guy's a quarterback. Yes, he's the leader of the offense. But the reality of it is, he's actually a defender. I mean, like
mm,
his personality is a defender. He's someone who's always the first to the front lines when his brothers are in harm's way. He's always the
right.
first to the defense of his fellow orphans, and he is always the first to speak up and look out for them if they are in trouble or whatnot. And so my character, I'm so fortunate to have been able to play the role of Wheatie, because a lot of this is shown in the film. This
Yeah.
is there when I read the book and then read the script, I thought that Lane Garrison, who is the writer of 12 Mighty Orphans, really did a good job at capturing his essence.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, because you mentioned the fact that it's based on a novel and like a true story, have you ever like worked on like a book to screen adaptation before, and like how was the process? Because you mentioned obviously they changed the dates a bit of like kind of taking what was in the novel and working it into the film.
So, what was the question? Have I ever worked on a
Yeah,
film before with?
yeah,
No,
that was based on a book. Yeah,
this is my first film ever. The last thing
right.
that I did was a high school play. So
Oh,
I
right.
am
Okay,
very
gotcha.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very new to the film industry. This is
Mm,
my first work. This is my first time to be on the screen, and I mean, I'm very grateful for it.
mm.
It is that experience that every actor dreams of, and so being able to have been taken on this journey, it's been a fantastic experience.
I can only imagine just looking at some of the other people who are also in it. I mean, obviously, there's like a younger cast who are playing other members of the team, but also the
Mhm.
likes of, you know, Martin Sheen, Robert Duvall, Luke Wilson, Wayne Knight, and like how was like your experience of working with them and the collective experience they bring to the project?
They they made the experience real. I
Mm,
mean, I stepped onto set and I saw them do their work for the first time, and I realized that I'm in something a little bit bigger. Luke Wilson took Rusty Russell by form and by storm.
mm,
We were shooting on the first day, and we were shooting a classroom scene, and I'd never seen like a professional do it in front of me and in front
right.
of the camera. I mean, I've never at this point I've never been on the set before, so
Mm,
it was really interesting to watch because he was trying to figure out his character kind of in the moment. I mean, he of course he knew his character, but it's different when you're putting it into action and you're on the day. And so as he was getting into character or getting through, the quirks or whatever, by I think take 6, something clicked. It was
mm,
really interesting to watch because I was no longer watching Luke. I was watching Rusty. And it was a shift in the posture. It was these minute things. I mean, it was the look on his face, the way he darted his eyes around.
mm.
Uh, it was no longer Luke. And so
Right.
to see that shift, that is something that the audience never sees. The audience only ever sees the character. But I had the privilege of being able to see the transition from actor to character.
Mm.
And that is something that really benefited me as an actor and going forward. And so being able to watch someone like him and someone like Martin Sheen, who is, I mean, he's practically Hollywood royalty,
Right. Of course.
being able to watch them do that, that's something that I couldn't get out of a classroom or read a book. That is only something that I could get on the day.
Mm. Yeah, and actually, quite a while ago, I spoke to one of your co-stars, Jake Austin Walker. It was actually about a completely different project, but obviously he brought up this film, and we talked a bit about it. And he
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like describing like the physical intensity of it, like the heat, and obviously you say that he loved the football aspect of it, but it like took the life out of him. And like bear in mind, he was talking about a superhero show that he was also doing. And he said that was a
Mm-hmm.
luxury compared to this. And like, I mean, how was your own experience of making the film? Like, I mean, compared to what Jake was saying.
Um, yes, because this is my first film, I did walk into everything with a brighter outlook. And I'm not saying that he didn't. It's just
Right.
like everything's new and wonderful, and it's
Yeah.
like a child at a playground for the first time.
Mm.
Just got out of the school semester, and now it's summertime.
Mm.
That's how it felt for me. And so yes, it was physically taxing. He's very correct on that. We were we were doing our own stunts and our own actions. And so yes, during this period of filming, it was either blazing hot or it was absolutely freezing. And
Mm.
so in a way, it also made it a little more real. I actually enjoyed that aspect, because pain is beauty, beauty is pain.
Mm.
And I think that these aspects, these legitimate physicalities that we had to go through, make the product so much better.
Yeah, and I suppose just kind of thinking about the film as a whole, like what do you hope people take from it, or like the message that it's trying to bring across?
Of course, this film is about brotherhood and camaraderie. That is
Mm.
absolutely true. And in other ways, it's also about fatherhood, the importance of guidance. But it's also about finding your talent in the smallest of circumstances. And I do believe that everybody can. And in a lot of ways, many people, of course, this is generally and abstractly speaking,
Mm.
do feel as though that they can't. And I don't believe that that's the case. And this is a film that is going to bring that to light. I feel like it will.
Yeah, and I suppose like once the film is like more widely available, where could people see it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Repeat the question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that when the film is more like widely available, where people are going to be able to see it.
Yes. So it is going to be released to the public on June 18th. And
Mm.
where exactly, I'm not entirely sure. It is a nationwide release, so
Right.
I'm going to assume that there's going to be no shortage of this film in theaters all over. It's
Yeah.
already out in Texas, and I mean the theaters that it's filled in Texas is so much more than I had even hoped for, and so I'm thrilled that this is coming forward and coming out.
Yeah, and obviously, because you were mentioning earlier that this is like your first film and like first like big project, but have you got any other projects you're able to discuss at this time?
No, I don't have anything in the works at the moment. I am a
Mm.
pending actor, but it is still, I do still have a plan going forward. I am living in California at the moment, and because of the pandemic, a lot has shifted. 2021 has been kind of brutal on the
Mm.
actors. Of course, it's been brutal on everybody, but
Yeah.
um, going forward, I am actually going to be looking for a manager, and because I just have an agent, and so and I'm going to use this film hopefully to put my name out a little bit more. But
Yeah.
as of right now, I'm a pending actor.
Mm. Absolutely. And I suppose maybe just kind of going off of that answer, like professionally or personally, what do you hope to accomplish with the rest of this year?
The rest of this year, I have a family business that I'm going into, which is a little bit, separated, and that's something that I can't really speak about at the moment.
Yeah.
So the completion of that is a goal that I have in mind, and also I am going to be going back into my fall semester for screen acting at Chapman University, and so I mean the short-term goals, if that's the route that I'm going down, is make good grades, make the best that I possibly can on that, and hopefully by the end of the year, maybe get some more auditions rolling in and find myself on set.
Yeah, and I suppose maybe then to round this off, because it's like the last like question I had pre-prepared, but like what would you want to, I guess, maybe tease or like set up about 12 Mighty Orphans ahead of it being released?
Well, I would like to tease that the chemistry that you see on screen between us guys is legit. That when you go to the theater and you watch the guys on screen being brothers, I mean that's as real as it can get, because those are my lifelong friends. Those are my buddies, they're my pals, and we all share the same sentiment. So I think that this is a movie where people are going to be able to actually see the camaraderie on screen, because this was a very unique and special group of people.
Absolutely, yeah. And best of luck, obviously, with the release and with university and whatever else is coming up in your future. I guess I'll say all the best. Take care and stay safe. And thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Connor. I appreciate being on this so much. Thank you.